and that is the outrageous way that the credit card industry is treating millions and millions of Americans. Last week, 2 weeks ago, I sent an email out to my mailing list, which is about 135,000 people, and I just said, tell me how credit card companies are treating you. And within a few days, we had 1,000 responses, many from Vermont, but in fact from all over the country. And essentially what people were saying as they described the treatment that they are receiving in the hands of these credit card companies, they're saying, we are disgusted that at the same exact time we as taxpayers are bailing out Wall Street and these large financial institutions, at the same exact time as the big banks are receiving zero-interest loans from the Fed, that the response of the credit card companies and the banks is to double or triple the interest rates that we are paying on our credit cards. And the stories that came in were heartbreaking, they were appalling, and they really spoke to the greed and the callousness of many of these financial institutions. And what we did is we put a couple of dozen of these responses into a little booklet called Enough is Enough, How Credit Card Companies Are Abusing Americans, Letters from Vermont and the Nation. They are available on my website at sanders.senate.gov. But what I want to do for this moment is just read some of the comments that we received from Vermont and around the country, and also invite any viewer who has a problem to correspond with us, and we'll read them right here on the floor of the Senate. I think it's time that some of my colleagues here in the Senate understood what's going on in the real world. And yes, I do understand that the financial interests that put $5 billion into lobbying and campaign contributions over the last 10 years, and yes, I do understand that despite the fact that they have pushed this country through their greed and recklessness into a recession, that they still have enormous power here on Capitol Hill. But I think maybe it's time that we started listening to the American people rather than the lobbyists from the large banks. And I'll just read a few of the comments, excerpts from some of the responses that we received from all over the country. This is from Donna from New Jersey. I want to know why consumers are not protected in any way from these predatory lenders who are bailed out with my taxpayer dollars and then turn around and raise my interest rates from 7% to 27% because of, quote, difficult economic times, end quote, for the credit industry. This is outrageous. I have not missed a payment, and my credit rating is in the high 800s. How can they keep getting away with this? Well, Donna, that is a good question. How can they keep getting away with this, and they continue to get away with this? This is from James in Highgate Center, Vermont. I once had Bank of America charge me 27.99% interest when I had only a $53 balance on one of these cards. I, of course, paid it in full, then closed out the card to avoid doing business with those crooks. Next one from Los Angeles, California, Jennifer. I have personally had 3 separate credit cards raise the APR to 29.9% when I have paid my bills on time. That's Citicard, Chase, and Bank of America. Then just last billing cycle, another card I am in perfect standing with doubled my APR, no apparent reason, Chase. Well, I think this is a good question. What are we doing about it? How can companies get away with doubling or tripling the interest rates on people who have always paid their bills on time? This is from Sheila in Wilder, Vermont. I am tired of being the one who has to pay. The executives of these credit card companies mess up and the little people pay. The government messes up and the little people pay. Now my oldest child is going off to college and I can't even get financial help except for loans. Yes, more interest. So now I have to pay more interest on my credit cards. When will I get help? Well, Sheila, I guess you have to contribute a whole lot of money into the political system because apparently Congress is not listening to you. Susan and Johns from Seacliff, New York. Capital, Chase, and Bank of America all doubled and tripled their rates despite a lifelong perfect payment record with no excuse. We phoned them except that they could. They did it because they could. This is nothing but breach of promise and flat-out theft. A good reason for severe retroactive rollbacks or simple seizure of banks, etc. Theft, not bad. And Brattleboro, Vermont. I live in a small town in Vermont. I feel that the credit card companies need to have a ceiling on interest rates and fees. They are stealing from us. We pay for the bailout and we pay the interest that increases. They must think we are stupid. And on it goes, Mr. President. This is just a couple of dozen. We received 1,000. There are millions of people out there are sick and tired of being ripped off. Now, what's the solution? I think the House has made some progress. I guess the Senate committee is making some progress. But ultimately, I think what we have to do is call a spade and say that when you're charging people 25, 30% in interest rates, that's called usury. That's called usury. That is outrageous. It should be illegal in America. As many people know, for a number of years, individual states had usury rates. And they said that loans could not be made out above whatever the rate may be, depending on the state. And then what happened in 1978, the Supreme Court made a decision in the Marquette case, which basically said that if a credit card company did business in a state without any usury rates, other states could not stop them from charging any interest rates whatsoever. And that is, in fact, what has happened. I have introduced legislation and will bring up an amendment when we debate the credit card issue. I hope that we can get some support here in the Senate to pass a national usury law. The rate that we have decided upon is 15% with some exceptions. And the reason we chose that as the ceiling is that is exactly what credit unions have been existing under for 30 years. A lot of people don't know that. But a credit union cannot charge you 25, 30% interest rates. It's illegal for them to do that by law. So I think if we have a regulatory effort with credit unions that have been working quite well for the last 30 years, credit unions are not marching into Washington for bailouts, I think we could apply it to the private sector as well. So what we are proposing is a cap on interest rates of 15% under exceptional circumstances, which is currently the case for credit unions, of another 3%, that would be it. And I think that that is sensible legislation. Whether or not we can get much support here and take on the banking interest, I don't know. But I think it's what the American people want, and I certainly hope that we can pass legislation like that. Mr. President, I yield the floor and note the absence of a quorum.
Clerk will call.